Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's Bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone. This is Kathy Hackle, your host for TechMagic. I am a tech and gaming executive, and I am thrilled to be here. And this is a bit of a shorter episode because everyone is on vacation, and we wanted to kind of focus not so much on the news that was happening, but more bring you a really inspiring interview. So Lee is away with family, so it's pretty much me this time around. But I did an amazing interview that really inspired me and touched me, and I know that Lee has listened to it as well, with Jeffery Madoff, who's an amazing author, an amazing entrepreneur, just an amazing creative. He wrote a book called Creative Careers, Making a Living with Your Ideas. And it's a book that I've read that has really, really changed my perspective on how we as creatives can really, really further our careers, whether it is that we work in corporate America or whether it is that we have our own companies or whatever it is that we do in this world. And as everyone, has finished a lot of the holiday celebrations and might be gearing up for New Year's celebrations, it might be thinking about what they're going to do in 2024. What better time to really think about how to use your creativity, whether it is, like I said, in your job inside corporate America, or whether it is launching something new in 2024 or anything, but making a living with your ideas, I think is something that is going to resonate with everyone. Highly recommend the book. And I think this interview is going to hit a chord with a lot of you TechMagic listeners. So for this last episode, we wanted to inspire you. We wanted to make sure that you go into 2024 with great ideas and more creativity as you move forward. So without further ado, here is my interview with Jeffery Madoff.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's Bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
All right. And now I'm being joined by an amazing guest that I have just grown to really appreciate the work that this person has done in the industry, from having met him a couple weeks ago to having his book. I want to welcome Jeffery Madoff to the TechMagic podcast. Jeffery, welcome to TechMagic.
Well, thank you for having me on, Kathy.
You bet. You bet. So you and I connected a couple weeks ago through a mutual acquaintance that introduced us. I ran as quickly as I could to Amazon and bought your book, which is called Creative Careers, Making a Living with Your Ideas. For folks that might not have encountered you, and I think many people have, but for those that haven't, can you let folks know a little bit about who you are, what you do? And we're definitely going to be talking about the book, which is fantastic, but just give folks a little 101 on who you are.
Sure. Well, I think most people on the planet do not know who I am. So depending on how big your reach is, we'll be informing a whole new crowd. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin with a double major in philosophy and psychology, which essentially assured the fact that I couldn't get a good paying job. And I had the opportunity through an old friend who called me up and said, I've saved up some money. Can you think of a gig that would earn more than bank interest? And I said, yeah, I'll start a clothing company. I had no idea what I was talking about, but I happened to be working in a clothing store. I saw what sold. I could always draw. So my first adult career was as a fashion designer, designing and manufacturing clothes. Like everything I have done in my life, I had no background in it. I entered into it a totally naive person. And because I liked it, I was able to figure out what it was and how it worked. So I had some success in the clothing industry. Moved from Madison to New York and transitioned into doing production, film and video, producing, directing, writing, all of those things, which I really love doing. And I did that for clients like Ralph Lauren, Victoria's Secret, Harvard School for Public Health, and so on. And then I started teaching at Parsons School of Design, taught a course that is the same name as my book, Creative Careers, Making a Living with Your Ideas. And then most recently, a new iteration, which is I am a playwright and lead producer of Personality, the Lloyd Price musical, who's one of the founding fathers of rock and roll. And we just recently finished a successful run in Chicago.
And I love that you've had so many different lives in some way, right? But all on a creative front, right? Everything's born from your creativity. And I think that this moment where a lot of people are asking themselves, why am I doing this job? Or why am I in this job? Or I want to go and do something with my ideas. I think it's really important for them to hear from you and to also, use the book as a resource. So for those of you, those folks that are listening to this and might be thinking that they have wonderful ideas, that they want to use their creativity, where do you think people start to doubt themselves with their creativity? Talk a little bit about that, because how do people overcome that fear that they might have of like, I have a great idea, but I'm scared to go and do it?
Well, it's a great question, because I think the roots of that go all the way back to childhood. Mm-hmm. And I was very fortunate that my parents were very supportive. So when I started drawing when I was little, they had a retail store, so they would bring home big sheets of craft paper and I could draw on that. My bedroom was the room that I could essentially do anything I wanted. So I could put stuff up on the walls. that was kind of my laboratory play place and everything else. And they instilled a confidence in me that I was able, even against opposition in elementary school, actually, that I could express. And I always felt free to express. So I always drew, I always wrote stories, I did things like that. And I think that what happens is when you put your ideas out there, you're at risk. And the first risk that you're at isn't really physical, is it? It's emotional. You know, am I going to get hurt? Am I going to get shamed? Am I going to get berated? All of those things. And I fortunately had a very strong foundation at home. And as a result, I did not have that fear or inhibition of putting my ideas out there and doing it. And I think that you first have to give permission to yourself to express. And I think it's also really important because life is filled with rejection on all kinds of levels. You don't say no to yourself either. So if you feel that your ideas have value, you need to put them out there because that's the only way you're going to test whether or not there's going to be a receptive audience to it. And if you hope to make a living doing it, you can't really listen to friends and family, you know, on that level. You have to get it out to the marketplace and see if there's a real space for it. So there's also a distinction between having a hobby, you like to paint, but you never hope to make a living at it, and having a profession, you're a painter and want to make a living at it. So, and I think that that main distinction is getting it out there, following through. And I think that the main personality trait is perseverance, knowing how to persevere through the rejection, how to overcome imposter syndrome, all of those things that will free you up to express and do the things that you hope and want to do.
I love that because I feel, I feel that there is this fear in a lot of people. I mean, I talk to a lot of women in technology that have brilliant ideas. And they might, some of them are really happy in their corporate jobs. Some of them are not. And they have these amazing ideas, but they're like, but I'm scared. I'm scared that if I put this out there, like no one's going to read this or no one's going to want this. So what you're saying, I think, is incredibly important. When you talk to creatives today and when you look at the landscape, do you think that we have more creativity now than we ever had? Or is there a lack of creativity?
You know, I think there's always been creativity. You know, if you look at Shakespeare in terms of plays and going way before that to the shaman who told stories around the campfire, cave paintings, you know, there was always creativity. And I think there was always the accompanying issues of fear, exposure, vulnerability, and so on that went along with it. So I don't think that we are any more or less creative. I think that what has increased is narcissism, where everybody thinks that what they do is worth everybody else seeing. And so I think that I think that the viral toxicity of social media has created this false illusion among a lot of people who didn't grow up with it, and I didn't, that everything you do is interesting. Well, it's not. I don't want to see a picture of what you had for lunch. You know, I'm just not interested.
Unless that's what you're into, right? Unless that's your thing, but not everyone.
If you're a chef, or if you're a chef, food critic,
if you're into, but not everyone is going to want to see that. No, I agree. I agree with you. And I think a big discussion that we have in the technology space is tech helping creativity or is it hindering it? You know, you probably have a lot of feelings around technology. I know we're going to get into artificial intelligence, but is it helping? Is it hindering? Is it, is it amplifying?
I think it's all of the above. You know, when you go back and do some research about television, television was called two things at essentially the same time when it started. And it was the vast wasteland or the window on the world. And it's both. There's a huge amount of crap and there's some really good stuff. And I think that's true in every creative medium. So I think that, what technology did, for instance, in that case, is it brought images into the home. You used to have to go to the movie theater. You didn't have TV. And it's interesting where imagination comes in. People used to sit and listen to the radio and listen to stories on the radio. They didn't know what the hero looked like. They didn't know what the villain looked like. They had to imagine everything. And I remember rethinking music videos, which I've done a number of for clients. But I thought, wow, that puts a demand on performers to be show people, not just great musicians. Does that hurt or help music? Well, it depends. I think it just opened a new performative arena for some people. And now you have somebody who was beyond a pop star, but a juggernaut like Taylor Swift, who is, amazing in her expression of music and so on. But ultimately, it comes down to, for me, do I like the music or not? Not all that stuff around it. But I think that we've also are all kind of dopamine addicted. So that every kind of thing, whether it's your phone pinging that you got to like on Instagram or, anything that sort of engages you, even if it's just for a moment. So we're kind of like moths to the light bulbs. But I think that technology has enabled, amplified all of those kinds of things and given us new tools to use. I mean, aren't we happy that we can write on a word processor as opposed to having to pound something into stone or write with a quill on papyrus? Right. So that's created great opportunities and so on. And then it's a question of like any tool, and like the example with television about being the great wasteland or window on the world, how is that tool used? And that's really the critical question. How is it used?
Well, and that leads me into artificial intelligence. I know a lot of people are asking you, right? What are your thoughts around AI, around creativity? There's a lot of different people having a lot of different opinions. What is your personal feeling on how AI becomes part of the creative process?
Well, it's interesting. I think that there's the possibility, in AI, first of all, we have to look at something else. And that is that AI is now in the hype phase. Okay, we haven't had a new thing since smartphones. And now AI is, everything. You look at Instagram and no matter how many things you swipe through, because it's all fed to you anyhow, it's all about, here's the 5 essential tools to AI. Here's how, and all this crap, and it's just hype. And what's going to happen is 80% of the businesses will go under. And then there will be AI that lasts, that does certain things that are useful for us. The big issue of whether or not creativity, how it's affected, I treat AI, and I have experimented with it. I don't use it extensively, but I have tried different things with it. And it's like having a idiot savant as an assistant, because what computers can do better than humans is categorize information, store it, and retrieve it. So pattern recognition, storage, and retrieval is what AI is all about, essentially. Anybody who thinks that, it's sentient. No, it's not. And there's a great book that I'll recommend to people. It's called God, Human, Animal, Machine, which is a brilliant work about AI and what is it and what's the distinction of it. And so I think there's possibilities for creativity that can relieve a lot of grunt work like catalog copy and press releases and things like that. And there's a lot of areas where there are fears around it. But I think that it's ultimately a human driving the force that's going to make it good or not. It's not going to replace screenwriters. It's not going to replace painters. It's, all of that kind of thing. And there's precursors to all this, which are really fascinating too.
Yeah. And I think about, for example, your play and like live entertainment where you're going to see something as a human, right? Like, I don't see how AI could replace that experience. I've been going to a lot of live concerts, right? And to me, like, I always walk away saying, like, this is what it's about. It's being around other humans, enjoying this experience, seeing another human do something amazing. And I always walk away hopeful. I remain very hopeful.
I'm with you. Look, we are from our beginnings, we are tribal. Stories were told around the campfire, right? And so I think that there are things that are enhanced greatly by being with others. So when you go to a live theater event, a sporting event, a concert, there is nothing that's going to replace that. I don't care how good your screen and sound system is at home, watching a movie on your home screen, no matter how big and how impressive, it's not the same as sharing the experience, which is what audiences do when they're at a concert or at a play. So I think that live component adds something to it that will never be replaced. And theater has its ups and downs in terms of a business and so on. But I think that you are correct. There is something unique and very much a part of our DNA that has to do with live performance and the sharing of that experience with others.
Yeah, the sharing of that experience is very human. I want to kind of talk a little bit about, obviously there's a lot of people that listen to this that are techies, right? They're in the tech space. This is TechMagic, right? What side of the brain do you think people who work around tech use the most? Like you talk about some of that in your book, but like for these people that are listening to this, what side do you think they're using the most? Because a lot of them are pretty creative. I just think that they, some of us kind of feel like we might be more technologically driven than creative, but it's all a mixture.
Oh, you've given me a great opportunity, Kathy, to blow up a myth. Okay.
There we go.
So Roger Sperry is a neuroscientist and a cognitive neuroscientist. And back in the 60s and 70s, he did a lot of experimentation on the bicameral nature of the brain in the two hemispheres. And allegedly, the left side was spatial orientation and this sort of thing. And, the bottom line is that your brain hemispheres work together. There's crosstalk all of the time. There's no such thing as being left-brained or right-brained. It is constant crosstalk. So if you looked at Rembrandt or Da Vinci's brain scan and you looked at, somebody who mows lawns, I don't know, somebody who you don't expect a lot of in the creative realms, they'd look the same. There's the activity going on between the two hemispheres all the time. And Sperry never meant this to mean that this made you more creative. This meant that you were more logical. He never ascribed, and he won the Nobel Prize for this, by the way, but he never ascribed personality traits to left or right brain. What happened then when we got into the 90s and brain imaging became a lot more sophisticated, which he didn't have in the 60s and 70s, they were able to map how much crosstalk and electrical activity there was in the brain. So even today, you can go onto Google and do left brain, right brain quiz, and there's like 10,000 quizzes to figure out which you are. You're both. So it's not about whether you're left or right brain.
I love that. So tech people, you heard it here. As we wrap up the interview, I kind of want to ask you, we live in that current moment, right, where there's a lot of things happening in the world. Some people are hopeful, some people are not very hopeful, but I do believe that creativity brings us a level of hope, right? It's very human and allows us to have these experiences and have hope. What is your advice for creatives today? Like if you're talking to your students or if you're talking to creatives out there that want to make a living with their ideas or just want to be creative in how they do their jobs, even if they're in the corporate side, what is your advice to them today?
Well, my number one advice is suggestion is, first of all, to not say no to yourself. That if you have an idea that you think is worth getting out there, you have to test it. But more than talent is perseverance. You really have to keep at it and try it because, there's this mythology about entrepreneurship and so on and creativity that it happens in this lightning bolt, which is not also how we function as humans. It's not a lightning bolt. It's just that that lightning bolt comes from a whole lot of other ideas and dots that get connected in the brain and pattern recognition happens as a result. So I would say that you should stay curious. You should always be learning. You should put your ideas out there and get responses, not from people who love you, but from people you don't even know. You know, when my play goes up in front of a theater full of strangers, I don't know what's going to happen, you know, but that's part of the beauty of it. And I think that the tension between the intent of the artist and the reception of the audience is something that keeps that whole process really vital, and also can make you really anxious and nervous because you don't know how you're going to be accepted. But I think there's something really beautiful about that. And what I love is the process. And part of that process is collaborating with others. And in theater, it's fantastic because I'm working with actors, directors, set designers, sound designers, lighting designers, costume designers. All of us are working towards the same goal, which is to put the best piece of entertainment in front of that audience. And hopefully, in our case, also provoke some thought and discussion about those things. So I think it's about staying curious, having an active imagination and curiosity, not saying no to yourself, and realizing the very important aspect that you have to do things over and over and over again. It's perseverance. There are those people that catch lightning in the bottle, but that's extremely rare.
That's fantastic. Well, this has been a fantastic interview. I feel inspired. I feel really inspired right now. Jeffrey, where can people find you? How can they connect with you? How can they find out about your book and your play?
They can follow me on LinkedIn and under my name, B. Jeffery Madoff. They can also go to @acreativecareer on Instagram and a Creative Career website, and they can see clips from my class. And I have fantastic guests who have inspired me and I have learned from. And I will say that also, I really like actual intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence, because actual intelligence helps us solve meaningful problems.
100%. I'm with you on that one. Well, thank you. Thank you for being on TechMagic.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
So that was my interview with Jeffery Madoff, an amazing person that I find inspirational, who has quickly become a person that I just adore. I've had several conversations with him. He is building and creating amazing things in the live entertainment space, and just someone for people to keep their eyes on as he continues to innovate and continues to be, a trendsetter. And I think from a creativity perspective, a lot of what he said can really feed our creativity as we head into 2024. So my hope is that you've taken away some amazing inspiration from this interview, and that all of you, as you work on your end of year plans and think about what you're going to do in 2024, that you're going to be able to bring your creative ideas to life and make, a good living off of them. And yeah, I'm all about living life like a lighthouse. And I think that Jeffrey is one of those people that I look at that is doing it, has been doing it for years. And yeah, just, I want everyone to go into 2024 with creativity at the heart of everything they do. So to everyone, Happy New Year. Lee and I will be back at the beginning of January with an episode focused on what we see 2024 becoming, the year of vision. So stay tuned, and may you have a creative end of your year.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So, whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.